Who is the false prophet that is mentioned in the book of Revelation? And specifically in Revelation, this false prophet is mentioned 3 times. It is in Revelation 16, chapter 16, verse 13, Revelation chapter 19, verse 20, and also Revelation chapter 20, verse 10. So I just want to read the chapter 19, verse 20. This is my favorite verse regarding the false prophet. Quote, "And the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet, who was in his presence, was performing signs by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped its image. Those 2 were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur." So what's important to note here is that the beast and false prophet are 2 separate things, or people, or things, yeah. So, because I decided to go, research mainstream Christianity, mainstream scholarship. I'm on a website called gotquestions.org/false prophet. Who is the false prophet at the end of time? So I guess, I don't know who owns gotquestions.org. I guess it's mainstream Christianity. So it says here, the false prophet at the end of times is described in Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 to 15. That's interesting because these verses, chapter 13, mention the beast. So this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. "A second beast rising from the earth, having 2 horns like a lamb, but speaking like a dragon." So here we have the description of a second beast and causing people to worship it. But again, the beast is causing people to worship itself, the beast. The beast is not causing people to worship the false prophet. So even the first sentence of gotquestions.org is incorrect. But again, it does say here in Got Questions, he is also referred to as the second beast. There are 2 beasts here. So it says, "Together with the Antichrist and Satan, who empowers both of them, the false prophet is the third party in the unholy trinity." Well, there is some truth to that. So moving on, I'm trying to figure out who is the false prophet according to mainstream Christianity. It says here, verse 12 gives us the false prophet's mission on earth, which is to force humanity to worship the Antichrist. He is all the authority of the Antichrist because, like him, the false prophet is empowered by Satan. And last paragraph, it reads, "Whoever the false prophet turns out to be." So again, mainstream Christianity thinks the false prophet is coming in the future. "The final world deception and final apostasy will be great, and the whole world will be caught up in it." So that is really the problem here, is that Revelation is not talking about the future. I mean, there are certain parts talking about the future, but it's talking about right now, or at the time when it was written in the year 96 by Emperor Domitian. Again, Revelation was written by Emperor Domitian or perhaps one of his scribes. So who is the false prophet? Well, it's kind of difficult to say this, but the false prophet is actually Jesus. But it's not Jesus, because the way Revelation was written and the way Christianity developed is there are 2 distinct Christs. This religion was developed originally by Emperor Titus and his father Vespasian. Vespasian is, of course, the first beast. Titus is the second beast. It was created to subdue and subjugate the Jews into worshiping a created Messiah, that the Romans would have absolute control over the Jewish faith, and the Jews would be part of the imperial cult. They would worship this Jesus character, who is actually a composite character, a representation of the deified Caesars. So again, this is extremely hard to see, and it took me years to really understand this. I've been researching Revelation for many, many years. It wasn't until I read Atwill's work, I would consider this his magnum opus, Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, and specifically his section on the Book of Revelation. It took me a couple months of reading this. I've read that section so many times. I've done my own research in relation to his perspective, and it's the only thing I've read ever that truly makes sense of Revelation. The only way to understand the book of Revelation is to see it through the lens that the Flavian dynasty created Christianity as a weapon to use against Judea, as a way to subjugate the Jews. So again, the false prophet isn't exactly, I mentioned it's Jesus. It's not really Jesus. It's the character of Jesus created by Emperor Titus. So in the book of Revelation, you have Jesus, or a character, it's actually Emperor Domitian on his white horse. He comes and slays the beast, the second beast that is, and his false prophet. So essentially what Domitian is doing is he's destroying this original character of Jesus, and Domitian is showing that Jesus isn't some literary character. Jesus is essentially Domitian. Because who's on the white horse? It's not Jesus, it's Emperor Domitian. Revelation was written by Emperor Domitian. So that's one of the things I've come to, even before reading Atwill, before coming to, even knowing who Atwill was, is I knew that within the book, within the New Testament, there are multiple Jesuses. Like there are different, like even in the book of Revelation, Jesus is kind of evil. He hates the Nicolaitans. He uses the word hate. But of course, in book of John, Gospel of John, Jesus loves. He doesn't use the word hate. It's kind of odd. There are multiple Jesuses within the New Testament. Jesus isn't so much a creation or myth. Jesus is kind of like a literary device. And Jesus is used in different ways so the author, whoever's writing, can reach their goals. So thank you for listening.